Have you ever read or watched videos about IP addresses where people give you analogies with post service and you kinda get it but still wonder why IP address is needed, why it works the way it does, and where does it come from? In this video, I will give you a full story of how you get connected to the internet and also explain a bit more complicated concepts so that you manage to understand things instead of memorizing them. Let's say you just have decided to finally get access to the internet. You pay your internet service provider, they send you their worker who brings 2 devices to your house, a couple of wires, sets everything up, and voila, you're now watching this video. Have you ever wondered what happened? How does everything work? Well, the story begins with the first device, so-called a modem. A modem is a device that gives you internet access. A modem receives a unique public IP address from your internet service provider. There are also private IP addresses, but more on that later. Now, what is a public IP address? It is just 4 numbers from 0 to 255 separated by a dot. For example, 146.10.0.15 or 222.125.2.6. It is a way for the internet to identify your home network or basically all the devices you're using at home. A couple examples. You want to connect to YouTube from your computer. YouTube sees your public IP and gives you video you want. You want to connect to Outlook from your mobile phone. Outlook sees the same public IP. Note, no matter how many devices you have on your home network, they will all share the same public IP. If you go to a website like whatismyipaddress.com, it will tell you what your public IP address is. Let's say you misbehaved in an online forum and they decided to block your public IP. From now on, you will not be able to connect to that forum using any device in your home network, but you will be able to from another place. That's the basic information you need to know. Now, what is the other device you just got in your house? It's called a router. Why do you need a router? Well, a modem we discussed before is most often only able to provide internet connection to one device. If you think about it, your internet provider gave you one IP address, hence it's only logical that using it can only identify one device. A router allows multiple devices to connect to it and then give them all access to the internet. From internet side, you see the router being one device with public IP, but actually it has all your phones and computers and smart fridges and other stuff behind it. Now, why so complicated, you might ask? Why not just give every single device a unique IP address? Well, let's do some quick maths, okay? IP address is made of 4 numbers from 0 to 255, as I said. So there are basically 256 possible numbers in each part. So to get the total number of possible IP addresses, we need to raise 256 to the power of 4. What we get is around 4 billion. I guess you can see a problem with that now. I did a quick search on Google and found that there are 21 billion internet using devices in the world, hence there is no way to allocate a unique IP address to all of them. But wait, how is the internet functioning and how does the router help in this situation? Well, this is where private IP addresses come into play. Long story short, there are a number of reserved IP addresses such as 10.anything or 192.168.anything. And these IP addresses are prohibited to be allocated by internet provider, and the only use of them is in private networks. So going back to a router, when your device connects to it, a router allocates a unique within the network private IP address. For example, if you have 3 devices, a computer, a mobile and a smart fridge, let's say your internet provider allocated you public IP of 146.10.0.15, this table shows you possible IP addresses of your devices. So note, all the devices, computer, mobile, fridge, router, they all share the same public IP, which I just said. Also note that router has a private IP as well, so it has 2 IP addresses and it needs to have a private IP address so that your devices know where they send data when they want to connect to the internet. Also, private IP addresses are probably reused millions and millions of times. They are not unique worldwide. Your public IP is unique in the internet but does not address any of your devices specifically. However, A mix of your public IP and private IP gives you a one-in-the-world combination to your device, basically the full address to your device. This whole concept of allowing multiple devices to use one public IP address is called Network Address Translation, or NAT, and this is a useful cheat allowing internet to work with more devices than there are available IPs. Another question you might ask is, why not just extend the capacity of IP address instead of all this complicated mess? Well, this is possible, and we have a new version of IP called IPv6, which is able to allocate 340 trillion IP addresses, which is a heck of a long number. However, it's not so simple, as the whole internet is now built on old version of IP, the one I talked about, 4 numbers separated by dots, and this version of IP is called IPv4. So if we want to switch to IPv6 and allow more IP addresses, it would be a huge logistics challenge to make all devices work with IPv6. And as long as IPv4 with NAT works fine, there's probably not too much need to even do this. If you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe to get more of my content, and please leave a comment so I know what you liked about the video. Thank you. See you next time.